I own a business called Orbit Marketing, which is a dedicated social media marketing agency. And we work across Facebook and Messenger predominantly, but also across Instagram, LinkedIn, and some of the other social media channels. And what we do is we run campaigns that generate leads for businesses. So when I'm talking to you today about generating leads for your business, this is exactly what we do day in, day out for a whole range of businesses in a whole range of industries. I'm a degree qualified marketer. I graduated, I think maybe 100 years ago from the University of New England with a degree in marketing, product and services marketing. So everything that we do has a really solid foundation in the fundamental principles of marketing. And I think that's missing a little bit today with all the fancy lights and bells and whistles of platforms like Facebook. It's easy to forget the fundamentals, and they're critical. So that's what's underpinning today's Prezzo. We're Facebook marketing partners and messenger marketing experts with a platform called ManyChat, which is a chatbot platform, which essentially just means we've spent enough of other people's money for those two platforms to recognize us as people who kind of know what they're doing. So that's me. That's what gives me, I guess, the authority to talk to you guys today about this subject. So the first thing that you really need to do when you want to start running any kind of advertising campaign, and this is not just social, this is marketing generally, is you need to identify who's your target market. Who do you want to be talking to, right? Not just who are your current clients, but who's your ideal client. Has anybody done that exercise? If some of you who've sat through some of my previous workshops will have done that, because I'll have. Who wants to be brave enough to tell us they've done it and give us a quick snapshot of your ideal client? Anybody? We're not just talking about demographics here. So when we first started trying to identify target markets, we would talk about things like age, level of education, employment, family status, all of that sort of stuff. And those kind of things are still relevant, because when you're choosing images for your marketing, when you're writing copy for your marketing, you want to make sure it appeals to your audience, right? So the image that appeals to the 25-year-old guy is going to be very different from the image that appeals to 65-year-old female, for example. So those demographics are still important, but it's now sort of becoming more about the problem that you're solving for people. So when you start trying to identify your target market, think about what are the things that keep them awake at night, right? So what we're talking to now is this point here about their pain points. Relative to your product or service, what are the things that really are giving your ideal client a bit of a problem? David Faraz,
yeah,
is that good
That's
pronunciation?
right, Simon.
Give us the 10-second intro to your business. What do you do?
Okay, I am a business broker, so I sell and value businesses.
Great, that's a terrific 10-second snapshot. So thinking about what you do and thinking about the people that you talk to, what would be a pain point or something that would really have your potential client stressed out?
Perhaps worried about getting the right market price for their business, just scared that they're going to not get enough money for it, that it's going to take too long to sell. I think those would probably be the main things, or cost too much to market for sale.
Okay, so these are, so let's say I'm somebody who's spent 15 years building a business, building a brand, working in my business and, sweating away, and it comes time to sell it. The worry for me is, what if it's not worth, or what if I don't get the amount of money that I need in order to be able to retire? What if I find out that, my baby isn't worth what I thought it was worth? So this is something, I guess this is something that would really be worrying, wouldn't it? If I'm thinking about selling my business, that's going to really stress me out and literally probably keep me awake at night. That's my nest egg. So that's a pain point, right? So you're not necessarily talking about age or level of education, you're talking about something that's really, really worrying your potential client. Dean, how do I pronounce your surname, Dean? You're on mute. Do you just want to quickly unmute yourself?
Heke.
Heke.
Yep.
So what's your business, Dean?
So I work with Schools Industries Partnerships. So I do their business development. So I liaise with the local businesses to arrange work placement for the year 11, year 12 vet students.
Okay. So thinking about them, what's a problem they might have that you're able to solve for them?
Well, the main issue we do...
Because that's a kind of a curly one, isn't it? Because you're asking a favour almost.
Correct. I mean, there's a couple of barriers. Usually it's not having enough time to engage the student, or conversely not having enough time or having too much, not enough happening at the moment in the work to keep them busy.
Okay, so that's an objection that they might have, which makes it even more important that you're able to pitch something that's appealing to them, that's going to push a hot button with that person and make them think, oh, yeah, actually, that's really good. So thinking about what's your offer? What are you taking to them and saying, I know that you haven't got time, you're time poor, and there's a lot of commitment. However, this is what we're offering you. And I'm not talking about free labor, because that's probably not a really great sales pitch, right? So for you to start generating business and getting these people thinking, oh, wow, we have to be part of that program. What's a pain point or a problem that you can solve, or an offer offer that you can make to them that's going to resonate and make them feel like, yeah, this is a really good thing? I've got a couple of ideas, but can you tell me what you're thinking?
Yeah, we try to focus on giving back to the community, especially during this period. About, it's an opportunity to look at your corporate social responsibility and help youth employment. Yeah, fantastic.
So gang, these are the kind of things that I want you to think about when you're identifying your target market. Don't just think it's a guy and he's 25 years old and he's got 2.5 kids and he finished school in year 12. Right? Think about, what are the problems that I can solve? And Dean, that was a really good one. At the moment, businesses need every advantage they can get, and being good corporate citizens, that's a real advantage. So in the pack, we discussed you're going to have a worksheet that asks you some of those questions and allows you to start pulling that information together. This is foundational to your campaign. If you get a really good understanding of those pain points and you can agitate them and poke a finger into them and make the person feel, oh my God, that's terrible, and then offer them a solution, you're going to go a really long way to having a successful campaign. So don't underestimate this, and make sure you spend some time doing it. So that's identifying your target market, really important. We got questions about that at all? No, awesome. Oh, hang on, was somebody going to jump in there?
No, I just had a spider drop down in front of my face.
Oh, okay. So then if I'm a pest control company, then, the pain point might be, oh my goodness, make sure you're never on a Zoom call and the spider drops on your keyboard. That'd be terrible. Okay. So you've got an understanding of, who do I want to target with my advertising? I know what sort of pain points I'm going to be solving for these people, and I've got a really clear picture of who they are and where they are at the moment in terms of their suffering. Now what you've got to do is have a bit of a look at your business, right? So you've got to have a plan. Where are you now? So that could be, where am I now in terms of how many clients do I have, particularly for a small sole trader or freelancing type business. It could be, where am I now in terms of what revenue am I generating? It could be, where am I now in terms of getting people to download this lead magnet that I'm using to build my marketing list. Right? Whatever that a current state is for you, have a think about it and document that. Right? Literally write this down. Where is my business now? And it doesn't necessarily only need to be one of those things. It could be a couple of them. I've currently got 15 active clients and I'm generating $17,500 per month in revenue. Get that down. Now, conversely, where do I want to be? And where am I now could be, I'm working 60 hours a week and I'm not making any profit. Right? If you're a small business owner and you're the accountant and the marketer and the service deliverer, that's a real pain point for a lot of small businesses, right? Where am I now and where do I want to be? Right? I want to be working 15 hours a week. I want to have a team that's able to deliver everything that I need them to deliver without me having any input. And I want to be making a personal income of 300 grand a year. Make it a realistic goal, but make it a stretch goal. Okay. I've got 15 clients now. I want to have 30 clients and I want to have 30 clients within the next 180 days, for example, right? Set yourself a goal. Where am I now and where do I want to be? And then what do I need to do in order to get there? Now, this is, I guess, not new for a lot of you guys. You will have been business planning before, but do it specifically in the context of the advertising campaign that you want to launch, right? If you want to get 10 new customers, then now I've got 50 and I want to have 60. What do I need to do in order to get there? So what this means isn't I need 10 more customers. You need to drill down a little bit further than that, right? If I'm going to get 10 new customers, then I know for every 3 people that I speak to or pitch to, I'll generally convert one of them into a new client. That means I need 30 inquiries. What do I need to do in order to get 30 inquiries, right? These are the sort of things I want you to do with your planning. Drill right down into it. Think about what resources you're going to need to do that. So let's say if I need 30 inquiries, I'm going to have to give people something, encourage them to make an inquiry, right? So you can't necessarily go straight out to the market and say, hey, buy my stuff. If nobody's ever heard of you before, the odds are they're probably not going to. And if they don't necessarily appreciate that they need your service right now and they see your ad, they're going to scroll straight past it. So think about what resources do I need in order to encourage somebody to make an inquiry. And some of the things that we like to use are cheat sheets or checklists, processes. So for example, when we get to the launching your campaign part of this, there's a really defined 5-step process that we use to launch a campaign. Now, what we've done with that, we've turned that into an infographic and we make that available from time to time as a download. In order for people to download that, they've got to punch in their email address and they can download that process. It's really useful, right? We're going to go through that today. And so people are happy to hand over their email address in order to get that. And now I've got a contact and I can start marketing to that person and move them towards having a conversation with me. And I know if I can get 30 people to have a conversation with me, then I'm going to get those 10 new customers that I want. How many downloads do I need? I probably need 100, right? Because I'm probably going to get about a 30% uptake rate. So I know if I can get 100 people to download my resource, I can, using an email sequence, get 30 of them to talk to me, and then I'm going to get my 10 new clients. So this is how granular I want you to be when you're thinking about the strategy, right? And then this last point, what does the customer value journey look like? That's exactly what we just spoke about. How do I take somebody from having never heard of me and possibly not even realizing they've got a problem, to realizing they've got a problem, to believing that I'm the one who can solve that problem, and then having a chat with me. So an example that I like to use, let's go back to the pest guy, right? So if I was to see an ad in my newsfeed that said termite inspections this week, 75% off, I would probably just scroll straight past that, right? I don't care. I don't need a termite inspection. It wouldn't matter if it was 90% off, I'm not interested. But then what about if I saw an ad that said, hey, how would you even know if you had termites in your house? Here's this checklist that you can use to have a look at all the things that are around your house that might be a little home for termites. Do you have old railway sleepers in your landscaping? Do you have moisture underneath your house? Go and have a look. And I think, oh, I've got railway sleepers in my backyard. They've been there for about 15 years, but they're treated railway sleepers. But this little checklist says in brackets, the treatment in railway sleepers is only good for 5 years before it gets leached out into the soil. Now, that ad, it's not trying to sell me anything. It's actually offering me something that's really useful and handy. But now I think, maybe I do have, that's a bit of a worry. And then I see an ad that says, hey, this week we've got termite inspections for 75% off. Now I'm interested. Right. So the customer value journey for me has been, let's educate this person, right? Let's give them something of value first for free, that's educational, before we pitch to them. So gang, thinking about your business and thinking about the problems that you solve, what is it that you could be putting in front of people that's not a sales pitch, but that's going to get them thinking, that's really interesting. So going back to schools industry partnership, your promotion at the outset might not be, hey, this is going to be terrific for your corporate citizenship. It could be an infographic, for example, on the benefits of good corporate citizenship. Did you know that organisations who engage in these types of activities, which benefit their local community, are 10.7% more profitable than businesses who don't? Don't make that stuff up. Do some research. But that's some information that you could put out there. And then a business owner is going to have a look at that and think, good corporate citizenship. I wonder what we could do. And the next thing they get is an ad or an approach from you that says, hey, we've got this program, which is going to benefit you in terms of corporate citizenship. So what you've done is you've made them aware that potentially there's a problem that they could be solving, and then you've offered them a solution later on. That's what a customer value journey is. So for you guys, think about, what's my customer's problem? What can I put in front of them to make them realize that they have a problem? And then how can I offer them a solution to that? Right. So that's all part of your strategy, is that customer value journey. Okay. So I know who my customer is. I know how I'm going to get them aware of what I do. I know that I need some content in order to do that. How do I go about creating it? So we've covered a lot of this in the previous slide, right? Again, go back to documenting what's the problem. Think about what sort of content you're going to need at each stage of the value journey, right? So right at the beginning, when you're trying to make people aware that they've got this problem, what's going to work for you? And it's going to be things like blog posts, social media updates. It's going to be things like those checklists and those cheat sheets that we spoke about. Now, in the content pack, you're going to have a worksheet that's got a whole list of different types of content that work at each stage. And each one of them's got like a little tick box next to it. So have a look through that. Think about what resources you've already got. Think about what resources you can create without spending too much money. And then tick the little box, like actually do it, right? Tick the little box next to it, because when you go back in 2 weeks' time, when you get some more time and think about, what was I going to do? You just need to look at that sheet and think, right, I need to write a blog post. I need to create a checklist. If you're wondering what a swipe file is, so again, for example, in our industry, in digital marketing, there are certain types of ads that work really well, but coming up with them is not always easy. So a lot of digital marketers will create swipe files of ad templates that work great. And they'll say, click here, download this swipe file of 15 terrific ads, just pop in your email address, and then that's them building their list and moving people through their value journey. So whether or not that's something that's applicable to your business or your industry, I'm not sure. That's a decision for you guys to make, but it's just one type of content that you could create. And on that checklist, you'll find lots of them, lots of different types of things that work at each stage. And you'll need to have a look at that and decide what's going to work best for my business and in my industry. This is important, right? Content's really important stuff. Who's got questions? Great, you guys are all soaking this up and you're going to be experts in no time. Now, the next thing we've got to do is we've got to create an offer. Okay, so this is the bit that I was telling you is probably the most important part of your campaign. And I want to give you a really graphic illustration of this. So we did a workshop a little while ago just around creating an offer. So if anybody sat through that, then you'll be ready for this. But I'm going to give you guys a job. And the job is to sell a car. And there's actually 2 cars that need to be sold. One of them is this really beautiful, I don't know, 1980s bashed up looking something or other. And what you can't see is that it's kind of rusty and the brakes don't actually work. But in order to sell that car, I'm going to give you access to my graphic designer, who is one of the best graphic designers. And she's going to create some content that is going to blow people's mind. I'm also going to give you access to my copywriter. And she's a world-class copywriter, and she can pretty much sell anything to anybody, right? So if you decide to sell the shitbox, you're going to have all of the tools in the world to sell that, right? The other car that needs to be sold is this really beautiful late model BMW. It's perfect in every respect, and it's going to come with, actually no, it's going to come with no registration and no insurance. But this one down here, I'm going to register and insure. This one worth about 10 grand. The BMW is worth about 120 grand. But here's the catch. And with the BMW, you're getting no help, right? You've got to do the whole lot yourself. But the price, both of them are $70,000. Now, thinking about that, who wants to put their hand up to sell this one down here in the bottom left-hand corner? You're going to get the copywriter, you're going to get the graphic designer, you're going to get registration and insure, well, assuming it passes rego on this car. Who wants to sell the BMW? Anybody want to sell the Beamer? $70,000 for a $120,000 BMW? Nobody wants to. You guys are just absorbing all this, aren't you? The point that I'm trying to make is the offer is absolutely critical. You could spend 50 grand in advertising and you're still not going to sell this car. Whereas with the BMW, if you put that out there, somebody's going to buy that car in a minute, right? It's basically half price for this fabulous car. That's the power of your offer. I don't care how good your campaign is, your targeting is, your copywriting, your graphic design, your pain point solving, you are going to have a hard time selling that car, right? So this is why your offer is such an important part of your campaign. That's great, Simon. I love what you're saying, but how do I create a good offer, you know? So think about who is your ideal client and what are their pain points, and make sure your offer is relevant to them. So let's say I'm a physiotherapist, right? And I know that my ideal client is somebody that's really struggling to keep up with the grandkids, right? I need to make sure that my offer is something that's going to help relieve the pain that they're suffering, literally the pain that they're suffering, right? So I've got to make it relevant. Don't come up with buy something now and get a free holiday, right? Those people probably don't care about that. It's not solving an immediate problem. So ensure that your offer is really relevant to those people. The next thing that you want to do is make it simple. And when I say make it simple, I mean ensure that the offer itself is simple to understand. Don't make it a really complex offer. Make it if you're going to do a price-driven offer, make it a very simple. We're offering this at 75% off, for example. Was this much, now that much. Just make it very, very simple. Make it simple for people to take up the offer. Right? So make sure that they don't have to click through half a dozen different buttons before they can claim the offer. Make sure that they don't have to meet a whole lot of criteria. Right? So for example, hey, we've got this product and it was $100, but today it's only $11 if you buy this and do that and sign up for something else. People aren't going to do that. Make your offer very, very simple to understand and very simple to access, and make it very, very simple to be delivered. So if it's a physical product, then make sure people don't have to fill in lots of forms in order for it to be sent out to them. If it's an online product, make it a one-click download. The more complicated you make it, the less likely people are to take up that offer. Right? So ensure that it's relevant and ensure that it's simple in every respect. Make it specific. Right? So when I say that, be as clear about what you're offering as you can. So using the example again of the physiotherapist, we are offering a 15-minute head and neck and shoulder massage, which is going to relieve the tension that's caused by staring at your computer. That's a really specific offer, right? It's not a 10-minute massage, because that could be anything. Make it as specific as you can. Specific about what you're offering and specific about what the benefits of that are going to be. And make it valuable in its own right. Okay, so what I mean by that is whatever your offer is, whatever the product or the service that you're offering to people, it should be something that if they buy it, they purchase it, and they never talk to you again, they've still got something that's of real value to them. So an example might be of an offer that's not great. Let's say I'm a tire and wheel company and I'm offering 4 tires for the price of 1, but only when you buy a set of alloy wheels that are, you know, $1,100 a pop. Well, that offer's not great, is it? Because I've got to buy the wheels to get it. If I just buy those tires, well, what am I going to do with them? I could make a swing for the kids, I guess, but it's not really valuable in its own right. So whereas going back to the example of the head, neck and shoulder massage, right? So it's normally $39, we're doing it for $7. If that person takes up that offer and then walks away, they feel great. They've got something from you that's of real benefit to them. And if they never talk to you again, they're still going to be happy. They've still experienced your service. So the point of your offer isn't to make a lot of money. The point of your offer is to get somebody to buy your service, to have a great experience and realize that, hey, these guys actually do really know what they're talking about and do really know what they're doing, and make them more receptive to your core product, right? Because a very, very important part of this is make it not your core product. Do not discount whatever is going to be your big offer after this, right? So let's say, for example, I'm using my business as an example, and our core product is the done for you advertising campaign, right? We'll set it up, we'll run it, we'll send you qualified leads, and we'll charge you X number of dollars per month. If I discount that, then it's very, very hard for me to charge full price later on. But what I might do is say, hey, we've got this little element of our service that is a strategy planning session, and it goes for 2 hours and it's normally $300, and we're going to offer it to you for $19. Now, if you take up that offer, it's pretty irresistible, right? A $300 planning session with a professional for $19, how could I say no? If at the end of that you walk away and you say, thanks, Simon, that's great, and you never ring me again, you've got something of real value. I've had the opportunity to show you what my service is like and give you a great experience, and I've earned the right to pitch you my core product at full price. If I discounted my core product, I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, so the elements of a great offer, make sure it's relevant. Right? Again, so using my example, the people that I deal with are business owners like yourselves who are struggling to get leads from their social media. A really important element of that is a strategy. I'm going to help you with that strategy. So the offer would be relevant. It's simple. It's a 2-hour planning session at $19. Click here. Very simple. It's specific. We're going to build for you a digital marketing plan that helps you identify your target market, walk people through their customer value journey, and launch a campaign. It's valuable in its own right. You walk away, you've got something really good, and it's not my core product. They are the elements of a really, really powerful offer that's going to convert. So what I want to do is let's take a few minutes. Who am I going to pick on? Who am I going to pick on now? Rachel.
Oh.
Hello. Thinking about your business.
Yeah.
What's one? So give us the quick 10-second. Tell which business are you representing today?
Crazy Cat Copy, and I do WordPress website builds and rebuilds and copywriting.
Okay, and so what would be a pain point for someone, for one of your potential customers, ideal customers?
On the copywriting side, it's quite often they don't feel comfortable writing their own blogs or website copy.
Okay. Another, like, copy is massive in our industry, right? So one of the real pain points that we see for business owners when it comes to copy is they don't feel comfortable, but they don't get results. Copy is one of the most important components of your ad, or your landing page, or your email sequencing, or your bot, your chat bot. The copy is what will, the graphics are what stop people scrolling through their feed, but the copy is what gets them to take action. So a real pain point when it comes to copywriting is nobody's clicking on my ad. I'm spending all this money and no one's clicking on my ad. Well, we can write copy that gets people to click on your ad. Wow. So what is one element of what you do? Think about all of the steps of your service. What's one element that you could pull out that would be useful in its own right, that you could offer to somebody at a really leveraged price, let's use the word discounted price, but it's not your core product?
It would be like a audit of, and that can be audit of a website or audit of their copy.
That I really like that one. An audit, or even an edit. For somebody to write something themselves, write an email, write a sales letter, write something, and we normally charge whatever you normally charge to proof that and sub-edit it. However, this is my offer today, and do it price. That way, you'll get the opportunity to see your work. Right? What they'll get back is something that's 100 times better than what they wrote. It's going to cost them very, very little. So there's a low risk because they don't really know you yet. So you want to make the risk very low. And if they decide to walk away, then they've actually got something of value. They've now got whatever that thing was that they were putting together done by a professional copywriter. But once they see it and they love it and they realize how good your work is, it gives you the opportunity to pitch your core product to them. Well, if you really like that, then this is what I do big time, and this is what I charge. How about having a try of that? And so there's a really, really important psychological shift, right? This is the reason it's important. There's a dollar value attached, okay? A lot of businesses do samples, give out product samples and that sort of thing, which is great, but there's something that happens. And if we've got any psychologists on here, they'll probably be able to back this up with some actual scientific terminology. But there's some things that happen inside of our brain when we buy things. It triggers the same pleasure centers that are triggered when we take illegal drugs and some other things that we get up to in our private lives. When we make a purchase, it triggers those same pleasure centers and we feel really good. So getting the credit card out and buying something gives people a great feeling, and that feeling is then attached to you and your brand and your product. But there's also a psychological shift where they move from being a prospect and sort of knowing who you are and what you do, but not actually being a customer. They make that move to being a client. Now I trust you because I've given you money. And once people trust you after having bought from you, we know that they are 7 times more likely to buy from you again. So that's why, when I said earlier, the offer isn't about making heaps of money. It's about getting people to just make a purchase. That's why that's important. They make that psychological shift. They get that little serotonin rush. They feel great. And you've now, I guess, earned the right to pitch your core product at full price to someone who now trusts you, feels good about you, and is far more likely to buy again. And that's where the profitability in your ad campaign comes from. Right, so this bit is purely about moving somebody from the prospect stage in the customer value journey to the client stage. And that's a big shift. That's the biggest hurdle to get people over. People will happily hand over an email address in order to download something if it's of value, but then getting them to buy from you is the hard step. That's why this offer is so important, right? So that's why we're spending a little bit of extra time on this. So list out all of the different elements of your product or service. Kate Rafton, are you with us, or are you? You are.
I am, yes. Hello.
Hi. So Kate Rafton is one of the Chamber board members, and well, give us the 10-second, Kate. Tell us about your business.
Well, we highly specialise in family law, so that's our core product. And then we just have offshoot services that complement that, such as, you know, some ADVO proceedings or general criminal work, conveyancing and contested wills and estates. But really, you know, our core service is family law.
Okay. So it's going to be a more challenging one for you. There's no doubt about that, because I'm sure you are governed by a whole lot of rules and regs and things you can do and can't do and can say and can't say. But thinking about your suite of services, so if I'm thinking about that, what are some of the documents that are involved in family law that people might have that could be reviewed, for example? Am I on the right path there?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few offshoots to family law. I mean, one is that we recommend with any parenting disputes that people go and do a mediation. Mm-hmm. So they could have a document from the mediation that reflects what they think they've agreed to, and we can review that for them. There's also some documents that people start filling out if they've reached a financial agreement, and they may want us to start reviewing what they think they've agreed to and make sure that they're on track. So we could definitely, you could be looking at that angle. Yeah.
Okay, so that's an element. So if you were to provide, you know, the entire legal service to those people, all of those would be elements of the service. So if somebody was coming, okay,
yeah, that's right, yeah.
But it sounds to me like in and of itself, having one of those documents professionally reviewed is probably something that would be really worthwhile, especially if you picked up something that they'd agreed to, they didn't realise they'd agreed to.
Yes, that's right. I mean, look, in children's matters, generally it's a little bit more, you know, it's not quite as strict unless you want it formalised, because a lot of people do weird and wonderful things when they're working out arrangements after separation. It works for some families, it doesn't for others. Probably the property side is where people can really stuff it up. I mean, there's tax implications, stamp duty implications, things that people don't realise when they're trying to work out their own agreements. So yeah, that's probably more important to review those things. Yeah.
Okay. And then thinking about how the value journey would work for your business, there could be, I guess, a checklist might work for you. These are the things that you need to be aware of, or these are the things that need to be done in a family law proceedings. Click here, download the checklist, make sure you're not missing out on anything.
Yes.
So that could build, I'm probably telling you stuff that you're already doing. So that could build your email list or your messenger list if you're doing that through Messenger. And then those people could be receiving some value-based content from you, some tips within, you know, the constraints of what you're allowed to do, some advice. And then they receive that offer. Hey, if you've got something that needs to be reviewed, we would normally charge X, but at the moment we're doing it for Y. And once they see how fabulous you are, hey, by the way, we could act for you in this matter.
Okay, yeah, if you do that. Yeah, the thing I struggle with, I'm not sure if anyone else has this problem, we're probably a service where we don't discount. We provide a quality product. I'm certainly not saying that I'm Apple, but I do see a lot of family law firms going, call now, free advice, all this sort of thing. What we try to do is provide a really good quality product. We don't do discounting per se. And we just sort of promote that, you know, we specialise in this area. This is all that we do. You're going to get a really quality product. So I guess I struggle with the social media stuff because it seems to be all this hook type advertising, and I kind of don't have that hook, if that makes sense. It's not like click here and you get a half price or whatever. I mean, I just think you can't give a good initial consultation for free and you can't do it in 30 minutes. So when I see that, I cringe. I think some poor bugger's going to go in and get a bill for the last hour they were there. Or it's going to be, you know, how can you really do a good consultation, you know, for that? I always think, how are you giving a good product if you're doing all these hook things or half price or whatever? So I do struggle a bit with that. I think, what's my hook for social media in particular?
Yep.
Yeah, how do you hook someone if it's just really your product that you're selling, if that makes sense? It's not a discounted click here now, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and you've raised a couple of really important points, two really important points there, Kate. One is the element of discounting. This is why you do not discount your core product, right?
Okay,
Because you're right, it devalues your brand.
Yeah.
Apple are fantastic at it. I think there's a couple of automotive brands that are fantastic at it. You know, they have once a year, like a 2-week sale or something. And other than that, you pay full whack.
Yeah.
End of story. So don't ever discount your core product. And the other thing that you touched on is, you know, we have businesses have a hook, and you know they're delivering this discounted service. No, not the service. The service has to be the absolute service you would provide to somebody paying full whack. That's the hook, right? We don't do this all the time, and you don't make that offer necessarily in your ad. Right? So you use your advertising to build that list, and then that offer is made via email to people, which is why email is the number one return on investment marketing channel still. Over 40 times ROI via email. You want to close those deals in private, and this is not a reduced service, right? So again, for me, our 2-hour strategy planning session, when somebody buys it for $17, it's exactly the same product they would get for $300. We do not do this all the time, but we're having, you know, a really focused effort to increase our customer base, for example. So for this short period of time, so there's got to be scarcity, and there's got to be exclusivity, right? We're not doing this all the time, and you are not going to get a lower quality product than you would get if you paid full whack. We are giving you a genuine opportunity here to experience what we do. It's not our core product. It's this one document review, and this is what we're doing it for. If you don't come back, you've had this document professionally reviewed at exactly the same standard that we would do it for everybody else.
Yeah.
We wish you well. However, you've now got the opportunity that they've seen what you can do to say, well, this is our normal price card. This is what we normally charge. And if you want to work with us, these are our rates. So you've absolutely raised some points that a lot of businesses are concerned about. Is it going to devalue my brand? Yeah, if you just go out there and say, this is my core product and it's half price, absolutely. And you'll never sell it for full price again. And if you go to all of the trouble to build that list and make that offer and convert that person, and they get their wallet out and the serotonin rush and all that stuff, and then you give them a reduced quality service, they're not coming back. You've wasted your effort. It's got to be the full thing that you would normally give people. So I thank you for bringing that up, Kate, because I obviously didn't make that point clearly enough. Not your core product. Don't reduce the quality that you're giving people, because it's your opportunity, whilst they're feeling great, to show them what you can really do. So I don't know if we've covered off this whole slide in that now. Let's have a look and see. So list out all of the elements of your product or service and pick one, a small standalone product, right? So that's what we've just spoken about. You might be editing something for somebody. You might be reviewing something for somebody. Suzanne Goldsmith, let's have one more example, because I want you guys all thinking about how this fits into your business. The 10-second, and what is one standalone element you would pull out of your business that you can reduce the cost on, but not the quality?
This is a concept that I completely struggle with.
Okay, good.
And probably because we've changed our business model a couple of times in the last 12 months. And if I went back to what I was doing before, I might be able to do it a bit better. But as you're talking today, I'm thinking, you know what? I really need to have a bit more in-depth look at how it is that what I do can be perceived as a problem, because really what we do is a luxury item, and the only problem it's solving for people is that it's stroking their ego.
Man, you know what? Ego is a massive driver of behavior, right? So what I would say to you guys is, if you're thinking along the same lines as Suzanne, or I don't really know, I can't really figure this out, you need to go back to step one, which is your client persona, and have a real look at who is my client, who is my ideal client, and what problem am I solving for them. And the problem doesn't have to be world hunger, right? The problem could be, how do I tap into somebody's ego and find that fear of missing out? I don't want to be seen as having less or being less than the neighbours. I do have a big ego, and my problem is, how do I make others see that I'm being successful, for example? Right? The luxury car brands do this. Nobody needs a $250,000 car, right? That one that we looked at, the Rust Bucket, that'll get you to the supermarket and home with your shopping as well as the BMW. But why do they sell so well? Because they tap into that need to feel like we're being successful. They tap into that ego, that self-actualization. Is anybody familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? I don't want to get all woo-woo on this, but so Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that once we satisfy a base level of need, then we move up to the next level and the next level and the next level. You know, and the base needs are food, shelter. And then above that, I think there's something like companionship and love. And then above that, there's a couple of other levels. And the top level is self-actualization, which is where everything else is taken care of. And now the only need you have is to make yourself feel good. Ego sits in there. Suzanne, you've got a really powerful thing that you can tap into. So yeah, I would put a little bit more thought into that. So break down your product or your service. List all of your product and the elements, find a small standalone product or element, understand what problem it's solving, what value can be added to it, right? So Kate, this kind of goes back a little bit to your point. There's two ways to make things cheaper. One, make it cheaper. Two, add value to it. Pile more stuff on top of it. So what other bits and pieces can be added in order to make it look like it's worth more money? Now, if everybody's got their pen and paper, Brunson. If you're already familiar with Russell Brunson, fantastic. If you're not, look up Russell Brunson. He's got a business called ClickFunnels, and it's essentially a software program that lets you build landing pages, which are like little mini websites. He is the king of adding value. Right? He can make a $300 product look like it's worth $3,000 and sell it to you for $400, and you'll feel like you're getting a bargain. We don't want to con anybody, but adding value as opposed to discounting is another way of creating a really great offer. And Kate, that would allow you to have an offer in the market without discounting it per se. So what value can you add to your offer? And what do you want in return? Okay, so it doesn't necessarily need to be a sale. Maybe the offer is, not only have we developed this checklist for you, but we've developed a whole ebook, and all we want from you in return is your email address. Could be that. Doesn't satisfy that serotonin rush, but again, for people who are thinking, I don't have a standalone product, I've only got one thing that I sell. I hear what you're saying, Simon, but there's no way that I'm going to discount anything. Great, then this is a plan B. Maybe you want to deliver something by download in return for an email address. So what questions have people got? Or even who wants to run an idea by the group that they might have for their business? No? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, Christina, did Christina's question in the chat box get answered?
Oh, I haven't seen it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to read? Can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't see the chat box when I'm sharing.
Oh, sorry, Christina.
No, that's cool.
Is Christina there? I'll read it out. Simon might be able to answer it. Christina said, what about e-commerce stores where you sell multiple widgets but don't necessarily have a core product?
Yeah, so e-commerce is a really, really good one. And there's a whole stack of things. Value adding is a really good one. So here's my widget. Is there anything that can be added to that? Or shipping. The one thing that works really, really well, and the one thing that, like, the really big friction point in e-commerce is shipping. So, sorry, we've just got somebody just trying to join us. So if you're seeing that you're getting add to carts and not people checking out, then it can be the user experience, right? So it could be that your website's a little bit slow, but it's often they get to the point where the shipping is being calculated and people don't like to pay that for some reason. So an offer could be buy a certain value of product and we will waive the shipping cost. That's a short-term offer that lots and lots of e-com businesses run, and it increases their conversions significantly. So have a look at that. That could be something that you can have a look at too. And again, whether or not there's any value that can be added. You know, if you've got something that you particularly want to push, again, I go back to my good mate, Russell Brunson, and what they find works, and it can be quite counterintuitive, depending on the product that you sell, is once somebody makes the purchase, they'll usually get something pop up, a thank you page, right? Hey, thanks very much for your purchase. On that page, they've found that they can literally triple and sometimes quadruple purchase value by making a bulk purchase offer of exactly the same product that people just bought. It sounds completely counterintuitive, right? Why would somebody want to buy more of the thing that they just purchased? But it works. So that could be something that you could do as well, would be to have a bulk purchase offer of the same product. So this is, I guess, a couple of things to think about. We predominantly work in the lead gen space, but certainly in e-commerce, there are two things that work really well, is the bulk purchase of the thing you just bought and the free shipping. Two really good offers. So hopefully that might help. Okay, so what does this look like? How do we pull all of that together? So in an example, so I use this one because I'm really comfortable with this example. So our 2-hour one-on-one consultation, which is normally $300, out of that we'll document the strategy for you. That's worth $97, right? So I'm adding value. We're going to give you, on top of that, 5 high converting ad templates worth $47. Our step process of finding online, it's $147. Total value, $588, right? So see how we've added value and stacked things on top there. And again, Kate, in your industry, it can feel a little bit crass and commercial. So you've got to be careful about how you do this and what you do. But suddenly I've taken a $300 thing and I've made it worth nearly $600. So the discount looks even bigger. Add urgency and add scarcity. So there's a limited time or a limited number. And again, I really want to impress upon you guys, be genuine with that. If you're saying to people, we have 6 of these available, don't sell 100 of them. Firstly, it's just not cool. Secondly, it will come back to bite you, right? People will figure it out. And with urgency, if you're saying this offer closes on a certain date, close it on a certain date. You do not want to become the rug closing down sale guy who's been closing down for 15 years, right? People, you know, they get it, they learn and they know, and then all of your urgency and scarcity is gone, and suddenly those discounted prices become your normal prices. So that's how you value stack an offer. That's how you pull it all together. And that, if you can get that right, then everything else can be kind of mediocre and you're still going to have a really successful campaign. If anybody wants to reach out privately and just kind of run through some ideas, I'm really happy to do that with you guys. Now I'm conscious of time, so we better plow on, but that was a really important element. So launching your campaign. What now? I know my audience, I've got a really good offer, I know pain points, all of that sort of stuff, but what do I do? So this is the process that we use to launch Facebook advertising campaigns, and there's virtually no ad campaign that can't be profitable when it's done using this process. And this is the sort of 5-step process that I alluded to earlier. Now, the first thing that I would say to you, is read the Facebook advertising policies. There, especially at the moment, there's a whole stack of accounts being shut down, ads being disapproved, ad accounts being banned. Because it's election time in the US, they're super sensitive about everything, and most of this process on the Facebook side is automated. So it's very, very easy for you to get something wrong in your ad and get it disapproved or your ad account banned. So please read the advertising policies. When we send out the replay, this is an active link and you can click through to the policies. Now, the first thing that will happen is when you go to set up your campaign is you'll be asked what's your objective. And objectives, you'll have a screen in front of you with a number of objectives like messages, like traffic, like conversion. Choose a messages campaign, right? And the reason you choose the messages objective is because of the way that Facebook feeds out the ads for that objective, right? So when you've set your audience targeting, this bit, the objective, targets a subset of your audience most likely to take that action. So if you've got a traffic objective, for example, which is one that's going to get people to click on a link and go to your website, Facebook will only show it to people it thinks are going to click on links. And that's a smaller subset. So Facebook are pushing all of their messaging platforms right now. So the messaging objective gets more reach and gets put into more people's news feeds. Use campaign budget optimization. So when you choose your objective, and I know that this is a little bit technical, guys, but stay with me. When you choose your objective, the next thing that you're going to see is how do you want to bid? And there's a little slider that says campaign budget optimization. Turn that on. You want to create 3 different audiences. So in your targeting, you want to use one broad audience. So that would be demographics only. Choose the location that you're after, choose age, choose gender, and really leave it at that. Then the second audience would be an interest-based audience. So you've got to specify those other things, right? You specify location, specify your age range, then specify some interests that you think your target audience might respond to. So let's say, for example, if we're talking about a yoga studio, yoga is obviously one interest that could be targeted, but what other things might people interested in yoga also be interested in? Could be personal development, could be meditation. So and we have to think about that when you fill in your client persona worksheet as well. So if you get stuck here, refer back to the client persona worksheet. And the third type of audience that we would normally test out is a custom audience. So a custom audience, these are really powerful. There's a number of different ways that you can create these. One is to have the Facebook Pixel installed on your website, and you can create an audience of people who have visited your website. Who's got a database? Do you all have customer databases that you've built up over time? So yeah, a list of names and email addresses, phone numbers, that sort of thing. You can upload that to the Facebook ad platform when you create a custom audience, and Facebook will find those people. Now, you might think, well, I don't see the benefit in that. They're already my customers. They're already on my email list. For e-com particularly, that's really powerful because what you want to do is get repeat purchases. So you might want to show some specific offer-driven ads to your existing customer base. The other thing you can do is use that audience to create a lookalike audience. So that's a bunch of people who have the same online behavior as your existing customers. They're not your existing customers. They might not even know you exist, but they're probably going to be interested in what you do because their behavior is very similar to the people who already purchased from you. So you can create that custom audience. It's called a lookalike audience, and you can show your ads to them. So they're the 3 different types of audiences that we would generally target. Oops. And then inside of each ad set or each audience, you want 3 different pieces of creative. Now, the way that we would generally do this is we would create the broad audience and we would create 3 pieces of ad copy or ad creative inside that. 1 single image, 1 video, and 1 carousel. So a carousel is multiple images, each one with a different headline underneath it. So we would create all of those different ads inside the 1 ad set or the 1 audience targeting option. And then we would hit the publish button and wait till Facebook approve it. When it's approved, we would then duplicate it into these different audiences. Now, the reason we do it that way is if we get something wrong, or if for some reason Facebook decides to disapprove the ad, You do not want all 3 ad sets and all pieces of creative getting disapproved at the same time. It's a really bad look for your ad account, and it will affect your ad account quality score. So create 3 bits of or 3 different ads inside one audience. Wait till it's approved, then duplicate it into your interest-based audience and duplicate it into your custom audience. And so what you've done is you've set up a split test, right? Because the only variable here is your audience targeting. Then you want to run it for about 1,500 impressions per ad set. Right, so that's a total of about 4,500 impressions. And you want to be watching your click-through rate. You may not get any messages at this point, right? This is very early on. So we've set up a messages campaign. You may not get people sending you messages yet because it's very, very early on and we're still refining things. You might get some. But what we're looking for is this click-through rate. And what that does is it tells us this particular audience is responding to our ads. And you will often find that one audience significantly outperforms the other. So what we do is once we get one of these audiences that's working, we would turn off the other 2 so that we can concentrate our budget on the audience that's working. That's the first thing, right? We've identified our core audience. If you've got your 3 audiences running and you're not getting a good click-through rate on any of them, I would encourage you to test out a new audience, usually interest-based. Right? So test out a different interest-based audience. Create one with some other targeting options that you didn't use the first time. If that still doesn't get you the result you want, then you might want to look at your creative, but really at this stage, we should be testing audiences. So find the one that's giving you the best click-through rate, and then the next thing that we want to do is test out our offer, right? So you went through that process and put together a great offer. Go through that a couple of times and come up with 2 or 3 different offers. Duplicate the winning ad set from step 1 and create 3 different ads inside that ad set, each one with a different offer. Now, we went through how to create offers a minute ago, but we'll go through in a lot more detail. So again, when you get this replay, you'll be able to click through and use that as a step-by-step process to create your offers. Create 3 new ones. Maybe one's a price offer, maybe one's a download, and maybe one's a service-based offer. Okay, so again, Kate, doesn't always have to be price-driven. They are the ones that convert the best. But for the people who don't want to or really have a problem putting that together, there's a couple of different options here. Test out all 3. Again, do it inside that ad set that gave you the best outcome and test those 3 different offers. Create 3 new ads, 1 for each offer. Keep the old ad set running, but turn the ads themselves off. Again, run it for about 1,500 impressions. And again, you're looking for that 1% click-through rate. By this stage, you might start getting some messages come through, right? You've found the audience and now you're testing out offers. So if they're resonating, you should start getting some people looking to take up those offers. And then the next step is to start refining your creative. So you've found your audience. One of your offers is really starting to resonate with people and you're starting to get a few messages. So now you want to start testing out your ad copy and your images. So use long copy, short. So when I say long copy, I don't know if you guys have seen some of those ads that are paragraphs long. That works. And in fact, depending on your industry, that can work really well. So test out long advertising copy. Short copy can be just a couple of sentences and medium is somewhere in the middle. Use the same image in each ad. Again, you want to make sure it's only the copy that you're testing, not the images. Same process as before. Run for 1,500 impressions per ad, and by now you should be starting to get some leads come through. Once that happens, once you know who's your audience, which offer is working, you've figured out that medium length copy and this type of image works really well, and you're getting leads, now you can start increasing your budget. Right? So when you first set that up, I would encourage a budget of about $10 per ad set per day. Okay, so if you start with a bigger budget than that, you're potentially going to overwhelm Facebook and it won't be able to find your audience. If you're, it won't be able to find the right people to deliver your ad to, if you're working with an audience of around 100,000 people per ad set. And in local advertising, that's typically what we're looking for. For the person who asked about e-commerce, if you're targeting a national audience, then you might want to start with a bigger daily budget per ad set based on your audience size. So use that proportionally. You know, if your audience is 200,000, maybe a $20 budget, 300,000, and so on. So by now you should be starting to get some leads through, and you can start to scale up your ad spend. The way that we would suggest to scale up your ad spend is when you've got that ad that's really working well, don't edit it, duplicate it, and use a bigger budget on that duplicate ad set. Because with Facebook working the way that it does, a really good, really successful ad can turn into one that's not working very quickly. And so if you've edited it and it stops working, then you've lost all of that hard work. So duplicate, make the changes to the new ad set. And if something goes wrong, then you can always turn it off and go back to the original one that was working. So gang, that's the way that we go about planning our campaigns, creating offers, and then setting up and launching our advertising campaigns. There are very, very few campaigns that can't be made profitable if you follow that process. I understand that this bit, the launching campaign, was a little bit technical. So if anybody's got any questions about that, I'm really happy to answer them now. Or if anybody wants to chat offline and actually jump into an advertising account and run through that, I'm happy to do that. I wouldn't normally do that in a forum like this because there's a lot of sensitive information inside those ad accounts. So I don't actually want to sort of put that into the presentation, but I'm more than happy to do one-on-ones with you guys to have a look at that if you would like. So who's got questions? Anybody? Or have I confused you all? No? All good? Okay, well, gang, that's it for that presentation. I hope you've all got something really useful available. At least if there's one thing that I want you to take away from this, it's that your offer is the most important part of your campaign. Put time, put effort into creating that. If you need some help crafting that, please ask. I'm more than happy to do that for you because it is such an important part of the campaign. And if there's like a tier 2 thing to take away from this, it's split test. Set up multiple audiences, test them. Set up multiple pieces of copy, test them. Always, always, always be testing. So, okay. If nobody's got any questions, then we're going to call the preso to a close. Stace, can I hand back to you to just wrap that up to end our meeting? Thank you. Was there anything that it was in the chat box that I missed that I can see now? Oh, here we go. Okay, some nice comments. Thanks. And Christina, if you wanted to chat offline, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about how you might be able to implement this in an e-com environment. All right, thanks, gang. I think we've done pretty well for